Let us begin our study of Parshat Shoftim with the introduction that Sforno gives us. Sforno writes at the very beginning of the Parsha, Achar ha-mitzvot lahamon, after the mitzvot that reflect upon all of Am Yisrael, Siva inyanei manhigav. The Torah now comes to give us the laws reflecting the leaders of the people. V'hem ha-shoftim, v'ha-malachim, v'ha-kohanim, v'ha-nevi'im. Asher b'tikunam, when they act properly, yetukan inyan ha'hamon, then everyone will be well off. Uvakilkulam, and when they don't act properly, yikulkal, everyone will be poorly off. In other words, when we look at Sefer Shoftim, Parshat Shoftim, we understand that we're talking about Klal Yisrael as a community, as a government. And then the question begs to be asked. The Parsha begins with Shoftim v'Shotrim. Would it not have been better had it began with the Malachim? After all, the kings were the leader of the pyramid. The king was the one who made the final decisions. Of course, the Shoftim had a vital part, as did the Kohanim and the Levi'im and the Nevi'im, but certainly was the king. The Melech was the Melech. Why does the Torah not begin with Melech and then tell us about Shoftim? Why does it choose to begin with Shoftim and Shotrim? Of course, there's a historical answer. As the Am Yisrael developed throughout the years and throughout the centuries, the first officers of the people after Matan Torah, after we left the desert, after we came into Eretz Yisrael, were the Shoftim. Only much later were their kings, first Shaul HaMelech, and then the dynasty of David HaMelech and his family. That's certainly one answer, which is certainly true, but there's another answer, which is also very valuable. And that's the approach that the Sfas Emes takes. In many ma'amarim that he said over a course of over 30 years, he developed the following idea, which we will say in a very concise manner. Says the Sfas Emes, the Torah says, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sharecha. Why not just titen b'sharecha? Why lecha? What is it for you? Tells Sfas Emes that Shoftim and Shotrim have two meanings. They're not just the judges and the officers who execute the judgment. Shoftim and Shotrim refers to ourselves, titen lecha, that we must be our own Shoftim and we must be our own Shotrim. What does a Shofet do? He is Shofet b'seichel ha'adam. Man must use his own judgment to do what's right. Man must evaluate and see and lead himself to the proper behavior. If that's so, why is a shoter necessary? Says Sfat Emet, shoter mevatel et ha'chochmot avor tzivah Hashem. Sometimes we want to be in opposition to God's mitzvos. The shoter, the enforcer, reminds us that our seichel does not overcome that of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We must be mevatel our chochmah and our ratzon before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And thus the Torah begins with Shoftim v'Shotrim to remind us the very first step. Before we accept authority from others, we first must establish the authority for ourselves. Shoftim comes before Shotrim because the lechatchila is that we should be the Shoftim. We should come to the conclusions that the observance of God's mitzvot and His Torah is in our best interest. B'diavad, if we're not successful, then we have to impose the office of the shoter to force ourselves to do what's right, even if it goes against our grain. In a couple of weeks, you'll be joining us in Bichlala. Please be prepared with Parshat Shoftim. Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha. Be ready to make those right decisions for your own best, to learn and to apply. And if you need, a little bit of the shoter who'll come with you as well. If sometimes we don't feel like doing what's right, we take responsibility for ourselves and take ourselves to go in the right direction. Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha. We will be our own Shoftim, we'll be our own Shotrim, and the accomplishment that we will be able to make will be legion. Shabbat Shalom.